darling. Connect, darling. Hello. Can you see me, Michael?
And there I am.
Yes. Hey, there you are. How are you?
Good, Renee. How are you?
I'm doing great. Look, Mama's got her Snoopy mug because 'tis the season, honey.
Yes.
Joy, joy, joy. Snoopy, Snoopy. You know me, right? I'm in
I
my.
have my
Your little tiny.
my tiny cup.
My tiny cup. Oh, it's so good to see your face. So I'm so super excited. So everyone, this is Renee Chambers-Lisiaga, and this is going to be a part of my Shout Out Saturday series. I usually do my Shout Out Saturdays or Broadway Sundays, and I have Mr. Michael Toolan, or I call him Mike, or Mikey Mike. And we first met almost 2 years, right? 2 winters ago almost. We did Cats at Salt.
Yeah.
And he was my musical director. And it was our first time working together. And it was amazing because prior to me going out, all the way out to Chester Springs, Pennsylvania, to work with him, we were back and forth for a few months, trimming up music and sending emails back and forth and coming up with this amazing idea of what we both wanted Cats to sound and look like. And, even though Michael is super young, he's so talented and is just has his finger on the pulse for teaching and education. And this was an awesome thing for me because we had people from SALT that were, in college, semi-professional, professional, high school. So to be able to rally that all together and have them be amazing kitty cats and twirl and sing for the gods, because he was like, oh no, we're going to sing that, but you're still going to do what Renee asked you to do too. So having right, Mike, right? Having the both of us come together to be able to blend our styles of teaching and recognizing the talent that we had on that stage and how far we could stretch them and push them to get to that next level. And that was such a blessing. And that was my first time working with the Salt Share some things because it's amazing what he has done. He has allowed himself to take care of himself. He's so used to taking care of his family. He's used to taking care of his students. But I remembered seeing him after I hadn't seen you in a while. He really put his foot down. He grabbed a hold of his health. You look amazing, Michael. You look incredible. And, I want you to share. I really, yeah. I'm like, where are you? But I want him to share this because, he just didn't say, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Oh yeah, I'm going to do that. But he actually practices what he preaches. And so, guys and girls, my students, ladies and gentlemen, whomever is watching, please welcome Michael Toolan. And Michael, I want you to take your time introducing who you are.
Yes. So, hello everyone. I'm Michael Toolan, Mike Toolan, Mikey Mike, whichever one you want to call me for this. That's what Renee always did. So yes, I am a music director for a theater company called Salt Performing Arts, and a musical theater educator out in Westchester, Pennsylvania, where I am actually a native of. I've lived here my entire life. I went to all the local Catholic high schools around here, where I grew up in their music departments, and then I went off to did my undergrad at Kutztown University, where I majored in commercial music, and I got a minor in jazz. So I actually went to school to be a trumpet player, and then with about an hour left of college, decided that wasn't it for me. And then I've told this story before. I'm not sure if I even told Renee the whole story, but I always had a passion for education, but not necessarily in the classroom. I always liked to kind of teach privately and to work with kids that were really in it, that really wanted to learn and to help them grow. So after school, I actually worked in Michigan for 3 summers. I was working at a fine arts camp out there. And that's where I kind of fell in love with more practical, kind of hands-on education with kids. And then after that was done in 2017, I moved back to Westchester, like most people do when they're 22, with $0 in the bank account, a music degree, and say, okay, what comes next here?
Right.
Um, and then through a stroke of fate and God and a lot of other things, I found my way at SALT, and I found my way music directing my first production there, which was Titanic in 2018, my first musical ever, really. Because like I said, actually I should probably go back. I found musical theater in my very last semester of college. I never did anything musical related before. I'm not a pianist. I always wanted to be a conductor since I was a little kid. Son's over there in the corner. It's not used too much anymore with quarantine.
Right.
But so I found my very last semester of college, I found my first production. I fell in love with it. And it was kind of like a stroke of fate. It just said, that's what you're supposed to do. And it was a night and day difference. And then I sent, 300 emails across the country begging any theater to hire me. And I'm like, I have zero experience, zero knowledge, but I'm not the worst person in the world, so maybe you might want to hire me. And I got the stroke of fate from SALT, and I've been happily working there for 3 years now.
Yeah.
I'm on my 11th or 12th production there.
Wow.
In 3 years. Yeah, Renee was there for my second.
Yeah.
was my second show as Cat, the first one I music directed by myself.
Yes.
So it's been a crazy journey, but I kind of just really just followed my heart. And as Renee said, yeah, in 2018 I took a look at myself in the mirror and I was like, well, I think it's finally just time to change the health thing, because I was a lot bigger. I've lost about 70 pounds. I was just not feeling, I didn't have the energy that I wanted to continue my work. And instead of complaining about it every single day, I just did it. And it was through a lot of encouragement. The first month was the hardest, but then a lot of encouragement of, a compliment here and there, or you just get used to following the routine. And then some days and some weeks are better than others. Some days are like this, some days are like this. Sometimes the weight plateaus, sometimes it skyrockets, sometimes it goes back down again. But as long as you just keep after the goal, your obstacles appear when you take your mind off the goal. That's what I always tell the kids. So if I'm looking forward and you don't want to ever, you don't keep blinders on, but if you have a goal in mind, just be relentless until you achieve it. Get there the way it's supposed to be.
Okay, everybody listening, do you hear that? Relentless. That's one of my husband's favorite words. He just got it tatted on his hand. My daughter just tattooed that on his hand. Relentless. Like, keep moving, keep going, don't give up. And you know what, Michael, that's so important because, when I first met you, I mean, you just bubbled with enthusiasm about your music. I mean, I remember one night we were talking about jazz and I was like, I didn't know you played jazz trumpet and you knew all these people. And, so we had like this whole, he was giving me like a major music history lesson in jazz and the horns and stuff. And I love, jazz and R&B. That's my base, my family base. And, it was just so neat to see the both of us there, at SALT, doing kitty cats, meow, meow, doing the Angela Weber show once again for me, and us just having like these kind of really cool talks about musical theater and, and my travels and just a really neat connection, like right away, right. But I noticed one thing about you, and I want you to talk about this a little bit. I know that you've been music directing at SALT. You do the children's musicals there, all the way up to the adult musicals, the cabarets, the fundraisers. Can you talk a little bit about when you started getting more emails and calls like, Michael, I need you for private lesson. Michael, I need, can you share about that experience of where you are, right? Because you're in your office right now, of how you expanded your home office and studio. And so, you're able to do quite a few things, because we as independent contractors, right, or entrepreneurs, because, even though you work at SALT and you're there as well too, you've had other ways to be able to supplement your income and to be able to get your name out there, not as only a musician and a musical director, but as a coach. So I would love to hear about how that kind of happened.
Yes, so that sounds fun to talk about. For coaching started for me as literally just a way to pay some of the bills, okay? And then it was almost like a flip one day. I think it was like 2000. I went from just kind of taking any student that wanted to come in, and a couple kids that, they were there because their parents signed them up.
Right.
But to having like a group of kids that really, really wanted to be there. And in 2 years, I've kind of fostered an environment of a studio that is super uplifting of each other, because I tried to kind of follow the Salt and Stage Light way of being super uplifting, but also everyone's holding each other really accountable. So everyone really wants to be here and really wants to learn, but they know that it's above all else, being a humble, good person is always the end goal.
Yeah.
But through the context of working on all this literature and all this music and holding everyone around them in the studio to kind of a high standard, which has been kind of the growth of it. Yes, it's super exciting. So now with all the state, because I teach at SALT, I teach at Stage Light, I teach music theory at Stage Light University, and I teach my about 50, anywhere between 10 and 15 private students a week.
Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, so your schedule's full too. Like literally,
it's a busy week.
Right, and I'm sure, with everything happening with us going from live theater and stage to virtual, I'm sure that part of your business has not skipped a beat, hasn't it? Because you're still coaching virtually, aren't you?
I'm coaching virtually, and then occasionally if I have someone that needs to super come in for an audition prep, we'll go 40 feet away in masks. I have a curtain, a COVID curtain.
Yep.
Big divider that divides my room in half. So we adapt, and obviously the first week or two, there was a bump in the road. Everyone's learning how to do online lessons. That when I play, there's going to be a delay in the sound.
Yeah.
And you quickly adapt, and you quite honestly you get over it and you figure it out.
Yeah, and that I love that. That's great advice. That you said. It's like, look, because it's interesting because as we get older as well too, just because we've been doing something a certain way does not mean that we cannot grow. Like I tell my students, I'm like, look, like I videotape myself doing my dance moves. My hips, things are, I'm in my 50s now. Things hurt. I'm being honest. It hurts now. You know what I mean? I'm recording myself, doing a whole bunch of things. And I tell my students, look, I'm like, this is where I am. I get yelled at. I have my mentors in New York and LA that are like, Renee, did you go over this? Did you do that? So I have people that still hold me accountable, even though a lot, my career spans over 30 years as a performer. But then what I noticed was as I got older and I ended up shifting to the other side, I was like, I have all this knowledge and now I want to be able to pour it back in. Like I knew I was a teacher as well too, like kind of like you, like I knew I wanted to perform and create, but I loved coaching and giving back and sharing and watching someone else grow. And, so for me, with my students, they keep me moving, you know what I mean? It's like this beautiful balance of there's a challenger. I'm like, hey, did you do your homework? Do you know your lyrics? And then I'm like, ooh, do I know mine?
I have a binder of music here right now. And I got on the kids this week and I was like, okay, do you know all the lyrics? You know all the things we talked about? And then I sat to myself and I was like, can I play every single note on this page? And they hold you to, I have a couple students that come in each week and they say, okay, I want to do this, this, and this. Can you get me there? And I was like, crack the neck. Yes, I can. Like, let's do it.
And that's good. That's a great thing too. I also, Michael, like what you were saying as well too, like with the students, it doesn't matter whether you're at SALT or whether you're virtual or whether you're hired out to do something. What are the three things? And I can share with you what mine are, but I call them like the 3 Ds, like the three things for you as an educator, a teacher, but not only that, but you're also an artist too. What are three things that come to your mind? Mine are discipline. That's like that's my big one. And you remember me, right? With cats. I was like, let's go, kitty cats, get that jump rope out. We have to, because they had to work their diaphragm and get breath control, because there's no way you can sit there and do a back walkover while you're hitting a high C. You know what I mean? So I pretty much train the way I was trained. You know what I mean? So it's that discipline and that dedication and determination. Like, I'm going to get it. Like, it's hard, but I'm going to get it. And, so I wanted you to share, what do you tell your students, your voice students, your acting students, when you are coaching and working with them? What are the three things that that really stand out for you?
Three things. Wow. So the first one is it always has to go back to a passion. Because if there is no passion, then it's like pulling teeth. I don't want to have to try and pull teeth to get them to practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a couple students, most of mine are very theater based. And it's about finding them the artist that they really like first, and then showing them a bunch of new stuff using the history. And then as far as teaching, I will show you something really fast that's hanging up in my office.
Sure.
Actually, this is something that I took from my teacher, and this is how I teach.
Awesome.
It's kind of like, here's the content you're learning, and then here is all of the things that you need to do that are required to perform that content and to get what you want out of your life. So this is, there's big things on here like perception is reality, servanthood, ability to focus, being yourself, goal-oriented. I always ask my kids, do you have a long, every couple of weeks, we have, okay, what are your short-term goals? What's your long-term goal? You got to get that. You got to get that in there.
Yes.
Habit changing, principles versus your emotions, blooming where you're planted. It doesn't matter if you're coming in here as, a classical boy soprano at the age of 8 that has a high E, or if you are in your mid-30s and you can't hold a tune yet.
Yes.
We'll figure out together.
Love it.
So this is one of my big. It's not morely 3 things. It's more like 12.
Yeah, but you know what? But they're important because they're all those small, tiny steps.
Daily routines to give them.
Awesome.
Which I adapted from being a trumpet player in college. I just took that out that we had to do in school, and I shifted it all to vocals and musical theater.
Love it.
And I just changed it up, and then you see the kids have a foundation every day. And it sounds like the exact same thing with you. Like if they can't be expected to know all the things because the science of how to practice is key.
Yep. That's true. And it's interesting because sometimes, a few people that I know, I don't know, I have like a couple of examples just off the top of my head the last couple of years, is and I'm sure you'll run across that student who is just like, it's in them. It's in their DNA. It's in their genes. They're just naturally gifted. They can sing, they can dance, they have perfect pitch, they can do it all, and they've never had a lesson in their life. But at the same time, if they're not disciplined, because I get the 13, 14, 15, 16 set, like as they're transitioning through high school, wanting to audition for college and stuff, I have those students, and some of them that are super talented, I'm like, boo-boo. No, I'm like, right now, everything is online for all of your auditions. Even if you want to be a dance minor or a musical theater minor, you still have to go through everything with music history, your vocals, you need to understand that. Dance theory, dance history, between the Italian or Cicchetti or Vaganova ballet, they're like, really? I'm like, yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, it's intense now. Yeah, I told them, I'm like, it's intense, and everything is a video submission. And I told him, I'm like, if you don't get that first video submission, it doesn't matter if you're in academically, you're not going to get into the college for what you want to do as far as performance-wise, because you don't have the history, you don't have the theory, you don't understand. So this is where, and I love doing it because this is what I learned in college, is that, you have to not just only learn the skill, but you have to learn the history behind the skill, the history behind the dance or behind the voice or behind whatever it is. And to me, that's important. And they're starting to realize that now. They're like, oh, Miss Renee, there's like 5 videos I have to do for them. I'm like, yep, but I'm not going to be a dance major. I said, I know, but they still want to make sure that you know your terminology and you know what you're doing, because, there's thousands of you that are submitting, and they're going to go delete if it's not correct. Am I right? If it's not correct, they will delete it and you will never hear from the university again.
Absolutely. Yes. History is key. History is key. My kids I go on and on about the golden age, and they're tired of hearing about it, but my God, you don't get Dear Evan Hansen before you get Oklahoma.
See, you and me, where we say the same thing, because I just finished saying something. I can't even remember who it was, one of my students. And I'm like, I said, you need to know you're legit musical theater. I'm like, you should be singing stuff from Guys and Dolls, because 20, 30, 40 years from now, every single, 5 to 10 years, there's a Guys and Dolls. There's an Oklahoma. There's not going to be an Addams Family and a Mean Girl every 20, 30 years. There's just not. I'm just being real. There will be a Hamilton and there will be a Rent. There has been some pop musicals that have put their stamp, do you know what I mean, and where they're going to continue to go. But everything else, it's like you have to know your classics.
Respect them, because it's what got us here.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And that's what we're going to build upon. I mean, everybody used to laugh at us and go, wait a minute, I think I told you this, for a while, friends of ours were like, oh my gosh, you're just doing Andrew Lloyd Webber. I said, you know what? The house that I have, the children, thank you for Andrew Lloyd Webber. Do you know what I mean? I am like, yes. kept me working, my husband and I working for over 25, close to 30 years. He didn't care if you were black, white, green, red. If he needed a train that could sing the song, you were it. You know what I mean? It's that simple. It's that simple. It's not rocket science. But then you have some of his rock operas, like I did Jesus Christ Superstar and Evita. It's like some of those shows, I mean, some of the music, it's just beautiful. And some of his stuff, but he there's a formula, and it's Andrew Lloyd Webber. So it's interesting because they were like, oh yeah, what are you doing, Jesus Christ Supercat? I'm like, yeah, whatever, meow meow meow. But I'm like, look, this man he's created all this body of work for all these many years, and guess what? He's kept so many of us employed. How about that? And a lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people don't, they want to laugh about it. And I'm like, well, he's laughing all the way to the bank and back anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? So, and now, drum roll.
So, I am thrilled to say that I've been accepted to the London College of Music for my master's in music performance. Yay! In conducting, and then also being a music director in their musical theater school.
Ooh, yes. I can't wait.
So it's gonna be a year-long master's program, a full calendar year, at the London College of Music at the University of West London. Yes, it's I'm really, it happened just yesterday, so still pinch me. It's like I am. My mind is going in so many places about it, but it's going to be really, really fun. And how the journey started was I had actually I thought about grad school. I really just wanted to get a bunch of lessons. I have amazing instructors that I still learn, because as a teacher, it should be like required that you are still in lessons and in classes, because you need to keep it up yourself if you're going to order to dish it out. So yep. I take lessons myself from my beloved piano teacher, Brigitte Rotman. And I took conducting lessons and learned in school. And I went back to do a recording session in February. I was recording the score for a musical. And a big 70 person like session recording.
Nice.
And my professor, I was using my old college orchestra in Kutztown. And my professor said, well, would you ever think about teaching at the collegiate level? And I said, didn't really think about it until right now. And truly in my profession, I'm not sure if I even want to do that yet, but truly in my profession, as a conductor, music director, the schooling is important. Sometimes being a performer, you can just take classes and stuff, and that's great, and you can make it, but to be the man leading the room, the man or the woman leading the room, you usually need some sort of qualifications. And truly, most of my qualifications were in trumpet, not really in musical theater, and conducting was kind of like a side thing I did.
Right.
So it was, I really want the experience of going to a very serious school for this stuff, and 5 minutes away from the West End in London.
We will never see you again. I know it.
And Angela Weber's father being the dean of the school for many years. I am, first of all, I'm unbelievably grateful, because my God, did I not get into it alone by any means. It was a community hug and then just throw off. And then it it was a outpouring of at least like 30 people, at least that helped me get there. Renee being one of them, and our work together. And I'm like, humbly grateful, nervous, excited, all of those things. But I'm still, I've got I got almost a year still left here in the U.S. and you can bet I will be taking classes and I will be taking lessons. And this was not the check mark of getting in. This was oh my gosh, how much work do I have to do before I get?
Which is awesome. That's so important. That's so important. What you just said. Say that again. What you just said. That's so important.
Even though I hit the milestone of getting in, the work just got started. I don't take it easy. I have a little celebration, and then it goes right into the next. I still got in at 8 o'clock this morning to practice.
That's right. And Michael, and that's amazing because that's where the hard work and the dedication comes in. You're not taking anything for granted. Even though you can accept it and it's a huge thing, but at the same time, and I think it's maybe because we're older too, it's like, okay. And you feel that responsibility, you know what I mean? Because it's all on you. It's not like when we were 17, 18, 19, undergrad. Right. This is for a master's, and it's that there's something about that's more weighted and more heavy, and has more substance. And then you're around the corner from the West End. Wow, the connections that are going to happen for you. Like, I'm excited. Like, I cannot wait. I mean, thank God that you're not going until the end of next year. So yay, the whole COVID, all this stuff will be cleaned up and then you'll be ready to go. You know what I mean? And we'll be able to send you a big old bon voyage. I will be telling all my friends in London that I know that are, directors and producers that are still working in England, that you're going to be there as well too. So, so you're going to have a new family, but you're still going to have those connections too. And thank God for the internet for that, and that we can, reach out to each other whenever we need each other. But, that is amazing that you went ahead and you decided, and it was because someone said, hey, did you ever think of teaching on, like, well, no, well, why not? And you're great enough. You have so many talents, Michael, and it's not just your musicianship. It's not, for me, that, yes, that's important, but it wasn't just your musicianship, but it's the way of how you conduct yourself and how patient you were with, with our cast members and cats when I saw you, and how you were patient with me and you and I together and working to figure out, tempos and certain, pieces of music and collaborating. And being a unit together, a team, and so that for me was amazing. It was a blessing. I'm like, well, this guy is young, but man, he knows what he's doing. And you took on all the work, you know what I mean? You stepped back, you took on all the work to tie it in a nice little kitty cat bow so that we could present it to SALT so that it could be the great show that it was. I thought the show was amazing because that show is a beast to cast. You'll either get dancers who can't sing or singers who can't dance. It's whoo!
And ours were awesome. And I will tell you this, it was quite a first show to do by myself. It was my first music directing show without another person helping or an assistant. And it was talk about the deep end, especially because my piano chops were not what they were. Yeah, that was a
but you and us working together and just the connection, and then with you, with your pit and how you treated your musicians and everything was just a wonderful experience. And, for my first experience at SALT with such a large cast, it was such a great thing. But as I said, it was not only just your musicianship and your ability to be able to do that, but your ability to be able to communicate those things in a way that was going to challenge them, but then push them to a higher level. And that's the magic for me. That's the magic. I'm like, when that happens, right? Goosies. It's like goosebumps everywhere. And you're just like, oh, look at this,
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah.
100%.
So what do you see for yourself? Not just, I mean, I know where you're going to be, because you're going to be like, Renee, I'm doing a new show with Angela Weber. Come over. I'll be like, okay, I'll be there, troll. Let me get on the plane. So, I mean, what other hopes and goals and dreams do you have just within the next couple of months? Christmas is coming up, but just within the next few months of certain things that you're doing or certain projects that you can share.
Yeah, the next couple months, I want to, keep with my students, just keep them up as best as I can, and then in the summer be able to find them reliable teachers that could take them on,
Yes.
that could carry on, that I know will carry them in the direction they need to. I'm not going to dump any of them at all whatsoever. They need to. I
Yep.
want to ensure that they have the people that are going to take care of them the way they need to be taken care of.
Great.
I'm teaching another music theory course in the winter that is a fun thing for me to do. It's like a music theory for the actors, for acting students, so they
Ooh.
can so they can really learn to start reading. I taught 3
Maybe
levels of
I
it.
might take that. I might take that one. Is it like Music Theory 101? Seriously, I might take it.
Oh yeah, I taught an adult class this fall. It was fun. And I got two other classes. I'm music directing Frozen Junior at Salt, Avita at Salt.
Yay.
Yes, and then I think that'll probably close out my work up until at least June there.
Right.
And then a bunch of just kids programming that I'll also be doing. So couple things to keep busy, which will be nice.
Which is great, which is awesome, because yeah, and during this time, I felt that as well too. We have to continue to keep creating. I mean, even if it's just for me, just like I have plywood that I got a while ago, during the pandemic, because I was teaching some of my dancers the Broadway tap with the 3-inch heels, and I'm putting my heels on, and I'm like, ooh. After a while, I was like, wow, why? Okay, because I'm on the plywood in my garage. Do you know what I mean? Like there's some padding in there, but I was like, oh, mama can't keep doing this because it hurts now, and we're not in like a regular school or a regular dance space, with the padding and flooring. So there were certain things that I had to shift around, but I mean, still, for myself, even if I'm looking over notes for my students, all right, what is it that they might need today that they can work on? And what is it that I need to work on? It could be old choreography. Like I'll pull like one of my song books from one of the shows I did like 20 years ago. I'm like, let me see if I remember my Joseph harmonies. You know what I mean? Just to keep my brain sharp and refreshed. And, I don't want it to be with my students, oh, well, back in the day, I used to do this. I want to be like, well, I did it, but I can actually still teach it to you. Like I still remember my choreography from Disney when I was 18 years old. That was a long time ago. You know what I mean? But, it's those things that keep the mind, sharpened, and our memory and the muscle memory. And of course, as you know, right, as a vocal coach, you have to keep your vocal cords. That's a muscle memory, your body, your diaphragm, the way that you're, using your body. And once we as educators stop training, then guess what? Then I feel like then I can't teach anymore. Because if I'm not physically still doing it, how can I pour into my students? How can I show them?
Right. I find if you're not willing to lead by example, then don't do it, because you're going to mess the kid up. You got to lead by example.
Agreed. Yeah, and for me, definitely that's physically and vocally, because I have a few students that they're about to transition over for a few things, and I said, look, I get it, because I have some of the teenagers, so they're in lockdown. It's really stressful. They can't see their friends. And I'm like, my husband, he started the sweat and burn camp. We're in the 4th week, and we're doing it every night for a half hour. It's killing me. It's killing mama. But guess what? I'm serious. I gained a couple of COVID pounds around in the middle, and I'm dancing, and I'm on heels. I'm in dance heels, and I'm going, why do my ankles hurt? This was like a month ago. Why do my ankles hurt? Maybe it's because of the extra pounds that I've gained because I'm not physically moving as much as I'm used to. Yes, even though I'm in my 50s, but still. I have to take care of myself. So I tell my students, I'm like, look, whatever you have to do to stay active and to stay healthy, because, you go back into auditions, they're not, it's the reality of it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Going into an audition for Disney or a Rocket or whatever it may be, or if it's a video audition, camera puts 5 to 10 pounds on you anyway, So I'm like, you guys, I told them, I'm like, you got to be ready in season and out of season. And that's a scripture from the Bible that I love. But we have to always be ready. So what does that mean? What does that look like for mama? I've got to be ready. Take care of myself as best as I can, get sleep, get the exercise. Yeah, I still have to dance in my 3-inch heels. Yes, does it hurt now? Yes. But when my agents in New York call me and say, Renee, are you ready? I'm like, oh, mama's ready. Get the makeup on. Let's go. And I just do it.
And what I want to tell, like what you can tell people is, when you're in college, they tell you, like, you better practice, your butt off, because you have This is when you have the time, and
Yes.
you will not have it again. And by some, we can look at the pandemic a lot of ways, but one of the ways we can look at it is we now, especially in the earlier days of lockdown, like in
Yep.
March and April and May, I was looking at it as, so you're telling me I've got 3 or 4 months to really hammer out on the piano.
Yeah.
And practice. So the world has given me more time to practice. That's, there's a lot of negative ways we can look at it, and most of the ways are completely negative. But sometimes there is a silver lining, and I encourage all the students that, if you're on virtual school right now, great. That means you're weeding out so many hours of the day where you could be practicing. Because your Zoom is 40 minutes and you don't have a bus ride anymore. And
yes! Tell him, Michael. Tell him.
Yes.
I say the same thing. I'm like, where are you? We're on semi-lockdown in the state of New Jersey. Where can you be? I'm having dinner with my family. That's great, but you still owe me a dance video. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
All these hours in the day. They're only going to virtual school half a day. There's no football. There's no marching band. There's none of that. There's no extra stuff.
Hone your skills. Hone your skills.
That's right. So did you hear that, everyone? Master Michael Toolan, because that's what he will be called when he gets to England. Master Michael Toolan. Well, that he's telling us all to hone our skills and to keep it moving, because the day is going to come where we've got to answer and be ready. And are we going to be ready? And we as educators, we want you to be ready. Right, Michael? We want, because when that opportunity happens, woo, it's exciting. Man, is it exciting.
Exciting right now.
I know. You're like, woo! he's being held down by ankle weights right now, everybody, because he would just be floating up to the top of his office right now. So he is trying to keep himself anchored. But and rightfully so. You should be so super excited, so proud of yourself and all the hard work that you've done, and your community and the people that have been around you that have poured into you, that have kept you positive and moving forward. That's another huge thing with my teenagers. Some of them, I'm like, oh, you better cut some of the naysayers out. Oh, it's too hard. Why are you doing this? Why are you proud? I'm like, oh, cut them out. You ain't got time for that.
There's more pressure. I wasn't a teenager terribly long ago.
Right. I was.
I was a teenager. I was talking to my mom earlier, and I was like, I auditioned for college I was a senior in high school 8 years ago. So
wow.
I got accepted to undergrad 8 years ago this week. I got accepted to my master's this week, 8 years later. So I remember being a teenager, and it's but there is a lot of and especially this year they've had a lot of growing up to do.
Yes.
Because everyone's emotions and EQs are so off.
True.
So it's watching them try and work through that, in addition to being a teenager, which we all know is the easiest thing in the world.
Right?
Yeah. Parenting right now.
I have two. Yeah.
There's a lot that goes on in the mind, and it's very easy to feed the negativity. Okay, it's very easy to feed the negativity.
Yeah.
You just have to, if you keep your mind on the goal, and surround yourself with the positive people. Actions follow behavior. So if you're around positive people, you will become positive. If you're around negative people, you will become negative. It's
that simple, isn't it? Right? And you know what? I'm just so thankful, Michael, that we have the arts. Think about it. The music and fine art and paintings and sculptings and dance and the ballet and the opera. Thank God for the arts, because we're the ones that bring the joy. You know what I mean? Right. We're the ones that create. And it's been hard for all of us, but nobody can take that away from you, and nobody can take that away from me. I may not be in a big, huge theater space or building right now, but nobody can take what's in me out. You know what I mean? Or away from me, because that's what God's given me to do, and that's what God's given you to do, and to utilize your gifts and however He sees fit. So I'm so excited. I'm so super proud. We're going to end this Zoom because I know it's going to cut us off. I don't see a countdown yet, but, thank you so very much. Thank you for blessing me with this time and with your wisdom. You're such an old soul. I'm sure everybody's told you that, and your parents as well. You're an old soul.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I've been told that on a couple accounts, but some days, I don't know. Some days I feel 16 still.
And that's good though. But I'm saying in your mind and in your heart, you're an old soul, which is a great thing because you're like, yep, I'm young, but this is what this is what you want to do. And I think that's so cool that you just realized, wow, 8 years ago is when, do you know what I mean? Like you can, like just.
Yeah, I did the math in the car ride in. I was like, 8 years ago I got an undergrad, like this week.
That's amazing. That's so cool. And now you're going for your master's, right? What is this in, music education or music performance, or what is this in exactly?
So it's a master's in music performance, for conducting, and then I'm gonna be the music director of the musical theater department for the
Ready?
University.
Wow. Like, dude, this is huge. It's huge. This is like like I cannot wait. You know what I mean? That it's so, and the time is going to go fast because, in spite of all that's happened this year, are there any last things that you would love to say before we close out? I want to have you have the last word.
Yeah, I would just, first of all, thank you. This was a really, really pleasant thing. I don't interview too often, but it was a lot of fun. And it's, I encourage any of your students watching, if there's a passion, that's all you need. At the end of the day, however mundane and however much of a rut it feels like you're in, getting in the nitty gritty and stuff, if it's truly the passion, it shouldn't really matter that much.
That's right.
Always keep your mind on the goal, the eyes on the prize, but also always do it with a sense of grace. There's determination and relentlessness, but there's grace. You're going to have bad days because we're human. A sense of humility and a sense of gratefulness along with that, and you're in a recipe for a pretty happy life.
Exactly. Amen. And I couldn't have said it any better. I really, and I think the more that we learn and we grow, and I know a lot of my friends that are performing artists that want to teach, they're afraid to, because then they know that they have to just be vulnerable. And I'm like, it's the best thing because you can just say, oh, sorry, I forgot. You know what I mean? Because we're human. We're human beings too. Just because you're on the other end and you're conducting and you're in a leadership role does not mean that you don't fall down and make mistakes. You just go, oh, sorry, let's keep it moving and keep going.
It's not your mistakes are not a reflection of your character.
Nope.
Just try and learn from them, and that's where you shine. Can you learn from them?
Yeah. Oh, ain't that the truth? Oh, that really, think about it. It's like a diamond, you know what I mean? And all the pressure, and then it just shines. It's not like, oh, poof, here's my career, or poof, here's my life. It's so easy. You owe me. No, it's like, let's get to the nitty gritty of it. Let's work hard. Like you said, work hard, be thankful, be grateful, and keep going. And when you're wrong, you're wrong. I mean, hey, my students tell me, Miss Renee, that's not, oh, sorry. I was like, oh, did I give that to you?
Yeah.
Because I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I got books. I got to write stuff down because mama don't remember one show from the next.
Ask my kids. I've never played a wrong note in a lesson ever before.
And you know what? And what we're doing now is laughing. Laughter sometimes is the best medicine. Like, if you get stressed or you're forgetting something, you just go, you know what? This is too funny, or I'm a mess, or whatever. I forgot. And you just laugh it off, and there's the joy. You know what I mean? It can be that simple. We can't be so serious all the time.
Totally.
Right?
Yes, Renee.
Totally.
Yes. This was so much fun.
Oh, thank you so much, Michael. It was so great seeing you. You look dude, you look amazing, man.
Thank you. I'm loving the hair. I like your hair. We almost got the same length going on now.
We do, yeah, because I don't know whether to grow it out. It's getting all over the place, and I'm like, just leave it alone. Because you know what? When New York calls me, Mama will throw a wig on in a hot minute. Seriously, sometimes if they need a curl, I'm like, oh, where's that wig? Pop. Oh.
I love it.
Whatever.
I love it. You're looking great as always, and the energies, and obviously 2020 has not messed up your spirit, which is the key. So.
Nah, you know what? I'm just keeping it moving, and I'm just thankful and grateful, that my family, that we're all healthy and safe, and I still have a roof over my head and food on the table. It can be that simple.
Yes.
And everything else is going to follow. Everything else will follow suit. But if we don't have if I don't have my physical and mental health, where am I? You know what I mean? We have to have that, and those that are really in our corner that are going to help us no matter what, through thick and thin. So, and thank God, I'm telling you, That's, if I couldn't dance, if I couldn't listen to my music, if I couldn't, whew, that's my thing. That's my therapy, you know?
Oh yeah, it needs to be there for sure.
Woo, and I'm so grateful for you. So thank you for all that you do with our students, you know, across this tri-state area, Pennsylvania and New Jersey and Delaware and New York and wherever they're coming from. And they should be just so super excited and blessed for you that you have this opportunity. I cannot wait this time next year when you go, and then I'm going to go over to London because I have a few students actually that I'm coaching virtually that are in England now that are auditioning for the ballet conservatories and stuff, and I'm so super excited. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so
do not be a stranger, Renee.
oh, you know what? You know I won't. I mean, oh, I'm telling you, I literally I've been in my house. like we've all been, you know, like it's not like I'm driving far away to go say hi to somebody. But no, I definitely won't be. We will definitely be in touch. I cannot wait to see all the magic that you guys are doing at SALT. I got a link or something to some holiday spectacular, so I've got to click on that. So I've been trying to stay.
I'm watching it. I'm tuning in tonight to watch it again. Yeah,
I think it's tonight or tomorrow. I can't remember, but I clicked in for something. I try to keep up with all the emails I get from SALT. It's like I get tons of emails. And which is a good thing. Yeah, but it's a good thing because I need the reminders. You know what I mean? Yes. And then I have friends that are doing cabarets and concerts for the Actors Fund or for Actors and Equity Fights AIDS, and so I have stuff coming from New York, Philly, like all over. And you know, so it's an important time, you know, for us to continue to create and help each other and encourage each other in any way we can.
Absolutely, Renee.
All right.
Totally.
All right, you take care. Oh,
thank you, Renee.
Big hugs, big hugs, Mikey, Mike.
Thank you, Renee. Have a wonderful day and stay safe, okay?
All right, you too. Congratulations. And I'll talk to you soon.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Right, bye.